Alright, you did it. But I'm doing it again. I'm doing it right now. Alright, percents are ratios. We've been talking about ratios. We're going to continue with that have a part to whole relationship. So with your highlighter, highlight part to whole. We're looking at part to whole. The whole for a percent is this. This is the magic number. What's the magic number when we're talking about percents? It's the whole amount. Raise your hand for bonus points if you can tell me what is the whole amount when we're talking about percents. If you want the whole thing, what percent do you need? Raise your hand if you can tell me. What is it, Amaria? 100. Okay, so when we're talking about percents, it's always based on 100. Percent, notice how this is all capital. So percent, C-E-N-T, can be broken down into per blank. Anybody know? That's okay. Other words that have the base word cent include century, which means, raise your hand if you can tell me for bonus points, what is century? What is a century? That is what I'm looking for. Raise your hand if you can tell me. I think you're thinking of decade. What's a century? Now, decade is 10 years. What is a century? Raise your hand if you can tell me what's a century. Raise your hand if you can tell me so I can give you bonus points. It's okay if you're wrong. Century. What is it? 100 years. Right there. All right, so what is a centimeter? Centiliter, centigram. So we have cent. What is centiliter, centimeter, centigram? What do you think they mean? Okay, raise your hand if you can tell me because I heard two really good things and I want to make sure everybody heard it. What's one thing? Kaden. Okay, they're all measurements. What kind of measurements are they?
Centi, so it's like small.
I'm looking for the kind. So last week we talked about two different kinds of measurements. What system of measurement had centiliter, centimeter, centigram? We talked about what were the two. Why do they keep calling me?
Pick it up.
It's spam. Spam. Okay. What were they? What were the two measurement systems? One starts with a C, one starts with a M. Say it again. Okay, so those meters, centimeters, that's in one system that was really easy. We learned King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. What system is that? The metric system. The other system is called what? Customary system. So these are all in the metric system. So how does that tie into 100? What is a centimeter? How does that relate to basic units of meters, liters, grams? How many centimeters do I need to make a meter? How many centiliters do I need to make a liter? How many centigrams do I need to make a gram? $100 are needed to make the basic unit. You need 100 of them. If I have centimeters, I need 100 of them to make 1 meter. If I have centiliters, I'm going to need 100 of them to make a meter. Hey, sit up, sit up. If I have centigrams, I need 100 of them to make a gram. So it's 100. You can use the blank symbol, this one, to represent a percent. Can you see the number 100 in the symbol? What's that? But what does it look like? What number? A 1. What does this look like? What's 1, 0, 0? 100. And it does look like division. It is division. It is a division symbol. It is a 100. It is a comparison of the ratio of part to whole. So how can we use these 10 by 10 grids? If it's 10 by 10, how many little squares are inside? 100. How would I show 72% of that square? What would I need to color in? Thanks for raising your hand. It would be what, Adriana? 7 rows. So if I color in 7 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Am I good? 2 more little blocks. So then I color in 2 more little blocks, and that shows 72%. Because I have 72 out of how many? 100 equals 72%. How am I going to show 8%? 8 blocks. Am I going to do a whole row? No, because that's going to be 10. So I'm going to color in all the way down 8 blocks. That's 8%. That's not much. It's not even a whole column. Each column is a tenth. Oh, how are we going to do this next one? Why? 0.5. So if it were 1%, I'd color in 1 block. If it's 0.5, what is 0.5 equal to? A half. So I'm going to color in a half a block. So I need to cut it in half, and then I'm going to color in that 1/2. And you can cut it however you want, but it's teeny tiny. It's a part of that. Okay? So how would I write 8% as a fraction? Whatever what? 8 over 100. It's 8 hundredths. The whole thing is 100. It's 8 of those parts. And then this one's kind of crazy. I can't have a decimal in a fraction. So what can I multiply that by so the decimal goes away? How can I make that decimal point move one place so it's at the end? What would if I multiply by 1, it stays the same. I could, but I could also... What can I do? How could I make this happen so it's a whole number? Times what? How many times did I move it? Once. So times 10. Times 10. And what's 5/10 times 10? Just 5, because you move it one time. What's 100 times 10? 1,000. So this means if I took a block and I cut it into 10 pieces, it's awfully little. DeMarcus, you have all this on your paper. Take your time. It needs to be on your paper before we go anywhere. What I'm writing needs to be on your paper. So we are going to have 5 out of 1,000. That means I have 10 of them, and I would have half, and that's how I equal that 1/2. So it's very, very small. That's 5 thousandths. After you have your paper looking exactly like mine, you may line up behind yourself. I know. I feel exactly how you feel because I asked you to do something and you did not. Okay, so make sure you have in here per 100. Other words, and we talked about this, a century is like 100 years. Centimeter, centiliter, centigram. 100 of them are needed to make the basic unit in the metric system. You can use the percent symbol to represent a percent. We talked about seeing the number 100 in that, and then we took and we shaded in the percentage on a 10 by 10 grid, so it had 100 pieces. How do you show a percent when 100 blocks are not given? You can write a percent as a fraction with the denominator of 100. Can you change 100 to a different denominator? Keep in mind the factors of 100. So, what are the first two factors of 100, which would include the smallest and largest factors? So, what would the first two factors of 100 be with the smallest and largest numbers? Kaden?
1 and 100.
So, you have 1 and 100. What's the next two factors of 100? So, it's going to be the next smallest and next largest. Georgia? 2 and 50. All right, is 3 a factor?
No.
Okay, so who can give me the factor that goes with 4 that makes 100? What am I going to put for those two factors for 100? Georgia? 4 and 25. Is 5 a factor?
Yes.
Okay, 5 and 20. Okay, is 6 a factor? 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 and okay. These are all the whole number factors of 100 that can be helpful for finding other fractions that we can turn to 100 as the denominator. So how are we going to shade in 60% of the squares below? How many total number of squares are there? There's 5 in the total group. Okay, we want the part of that is going to equal to 60. So if I have 60%, how would I write 60% as a fraction based on what we know about percent? It's going to be what over what? Just the easy one. 60 over 100. Well, we don't have 100 blocks. We only have 5. Can I change this so that I have 5? How could I change 100 to 5? Okay, and if you look at your factors over here, to get a 5, you're dividing by 20. And both parts divide by 20. So, 60 divided by 20 is, so what part of the 5 do I need to shade to show 60%? I'm going to shade in 3. So you don't always have to have 100 in order to show a percent. You can change it to a number that you can then find one of those common factors for. Now on the inside, we're going to be doing more modeling the easy way with a 10 by 10, but we're also going to look at models that have different parts to it. It's not 100 parts. So on the inside. Okay, on the first side, they're all 10 by 10 grids. Okay. Some of these are difficult to see the individual boxes. It might be easier to count the ones that are not filled in. All of these are 10 in a row or 10 in a column. So for the first one, we have 15 over 100. That would be 15 hundredths. Remember, you're going to have 2 places after the 0. What's 1 place after the decimal going to be? Tenths. And then 2 places would be hundredths, and 3 would be thousandths. And so that's back here where we were talking about this, that you might have 1,000, okay, if you had a decimal percent. Okay, so 15 hundredths, 15 hundredths, 15%. 3 blocks are filled in. So it's 3 hundredths, 3 hundredths. Both are said the same. One's a fraction, one's a decimal, and 3%. What fraction am I going to write for the part that is shaded in? How many are shaded in this model? For bonus points, raise your hand. Count them on your paper. It's going to be easier than trying to count them up here. What fraction is shaded in out of those 100? It's going to be what? Virginia, can you tell me? So I have 50 over 100. How would I write that as a decimal? 0.50. 50 hundredths. 50 hundredths, 50 hundredths, and what percent is that? 50%. Don't forget your percent sign. All right, for the next one, what fraction is shaded? What fraction is shaded? Or the one right next to it? Over here, what fraction? Raise your hand if you can tell me. What fraction is shaded? Catalea.
5.
So if there's 2, 2, and 3, so how many is that total? if you have an answer. 7 out of how many total?
100.
100. How would I write that as a decimal? How would I write that as a decimal if I wanted to show 7/100ths?
0.06.
Raise your hand if you have an answer. And I need to see that more than one person has it, so I'm giving everybody a chance to think. How would I write 7/100ths as a decimal? How many places after the decimal? Do I have a whole number? I have decimal, 0 point, and then I need hundredths. How many places after the decimal is hundredths?
She said catalytic to the nurse.
Okay, Cadillac, just in the school. All right, 2 places. Where am I going to put that 7 so it's 7/100ths and not 7/10ths? Got a lot of people not focused. 0, 7. Make sure you put a 0 in the tenths place. In order to have a tenth, you have to have 10 pieces. We don't have enough. If we had 10 pieces, we'd have a tenth. We have less than that, so we have 7/100ths. Keontae, what percent would that be? Jaquel, what percent would this be? DeMarcus? 7%. It's whatever number's over 100. That number on top is a 7, so it's 7%. All right, looking at this next one. What fraction is shaded? Might be easier to see what's not shaded and take it away from 100. What fraction is shaded? It's going to be what? Autumn? What fraction is shaded for this one? All right, over what? Good. How would I write the decimal?
0.97.
Excellent. And what's it going to be as a percent? 97. And don't forget the percent sign. Questions? Okay, you have all of these have at least one block shaded in, and none of them have less than one block. Okay, so this one right here, you might want to darken it in. A little hard to see on that one. It is just that one. You have 3 minutes to, 2 minutes to finish with counting. Write the fraction, the decimal, and the percent. Just counting. All of them are going to be out of what? 100. Mm-hmm. I know that wasn't that time the same time. I think it's a decimal. I don't know. Keep working. You got 1 minute and 24 seconds. It goes quick. On the side of the door. Okay, so looking at making the fractions. Okay, looking at this next one. What do we have as far as a fraction for the amount that's shown? What did you get for this fraction? Thank you for raising your hand so I can give you bonus points. What did you get for this fraction when you counted? Amarion? 64 what? All right. What is that going to be as a decimal?
0.64.
And how about a percent? Alrighty. And how about this next one? What is the fraction for this, Jonathan? What did you get? So 31 would be if they were all filled in, and these aren't. So you might want to look that there's 7 all the way down and 3 up. So look at this as a rectangle of this being 7 and this is 3. How many little squares are in that?
Wait, you said what?
This goes across 7 and it goes up 3 rows of 7. So how many am I going to have in 3 rows of 7? And then plus the 1 is, so I'm going to put what fraction? Over?
100.
All right. What am I going to write for my decimal? Keep going, Jonathan. What's my decimal going to be?
Decimal 22
And then my percent?
is 22.
Don't forget your percent sign. A lot of people are just saying the 22. Make sure you end with percent. No sign, no credit, because that's a completely different number. All right, how about the next one? What fraction is shaded? Georgia? Anybody else get 36 over 100? Okay. All right, 36 over 100 is going to be what decimal? And then what percent? 36%. Next one, what fraction do I have? What fraction is shaded? Adriana, what fraction is shaded? Over. And then what's my decimal? And what is my percent? Nice. Next one. This is the one where I said you might want to fill it in because it's so little. It's just that. What fraction do we have for that? Romelia, what fraction? Okay. What am I going to write for my decimal?
0.09.
And what about the percent?
10%.
Nice. Any questions on that one? It's one whole square out of 100, so it's 1% or 1/100th. All right, how about a fraction for this box at the bottom, Kaden?
12 over 100.
What decimal?
0.12.
And percent.
12%.
And for this last one, Sienna, what fraction am I going to put? Are the whole things filled in? Are the whole things filled in top to bottom?
Yes.
How many of those do you have?
3.
Okay, so how many are in each one? How many are in each one?
3.
You have 3. How many are in each column? If it goes from top to bottom and it's a 10 by 10, how many are in each column? What's 3 times 10? There we go. It's going to be 30. Don't count them if you have the whole thing. Count by tens for that. 30 over 100. How am I going to write the decimal?
0.30.
Or I could just put 3/10 because I have 3 of those columns. And what percent would that be? 30%. Questions? Now, when we go to the next page at the bottom, we are going to do this again. We're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again because this is very important to know the factors of 100. So at the bottom, put 100. Put a cloud around it. Who can give me the first 2 factors of 100, DeMarcus? What are the first 2 factors of 100? Smallest and largest together. It's the easiest. It's the identity property. Times. Nice. Who can give me the next 2 factors of 100? Amarion. Times. Good. Who can give me the next 2 factors? Georgia. Times. Who can give me the next 2 factors? They're going to be what, Kaden? times. Who can give me the last two factors for 100? Sienna.
10 times 10.
10 times 10. These are the only numbers you can divide into 100 evenly. Okay, there's other ways to do it with decimals, but we don't want to do that. We just want these whole numbers that we're working with. So we're going to go back, and we're going to look at what we have. And notice, there are not 100 pieces in that circle. So when it asks for a fraction, what fraction am I going to write that is shaded? What fraction, Lacey, is shaded?
1/4.
1/4. All right, so I want what magic number on the bottom so I can figure out the percent? What's the magic number for percent? 100. Can I make this equal to 100 on the bottom? How? Oh, so if I do times 25, what do I have to do at the top? And that's going to make it very easy to then write, what is my decimal? And what is my percent? There you go. When you have a fourth, think of quarters. 1/4 is how much? 2 quarters. 3 quarters. 4 quarters. What's a dollar? How many cents? How many cents? 4 quarters. How many cents? 100. That's where that 100 comes from. 4 quarters is 100 cents or a dollar. All right, next one. What part is shaded? I need a fraction for the box where the triangles are shaded. What am I going to put for the amount that's shaded, Jaquel? What fraction is shaded for that square and those pieces?
4/8.
All right. I have a question. Look at the bottom. Do we have a number times 8 that gives us 100?
No.
Does that mean we can't do this?
No.
What can I do then to make it look different? So I can make this equal to 1/2 by simplifying. Don't ever get stuck. Say, what can I do? What can I change it to? Easier to work with. What's my magic number that I want? 100. How am I going to get there? Times 50. 1 times 50 is? All right, so what's my decimal? 0.50 or 5/10, because it would be 5 complete columns. And what percent is 1/2? 4/8? It's going to be 50%. What part of the star is shaded? What's my fraction, Autumn? What part is shaded? Okay. So 3/5. Magic number's not on the bottom. Can I change this to a magic number? What's the magic number I want for a percent? How am I going to change it to 100? Look at the bottom at your facts. Times 20. What's 3 times 20? 60. What am I going to write for the decimal? 60 hundredths or 6. I like 6/10 better. But we can do either 6/10 because I can cover up those zeros, or I can do 60 hundredths. The 0 can drop off. What percent is that going to be, Jonathan? What percent?
60%.
Perfect. All right, next, I need to know what part is shaded. What am I going to put for my fraction that's shaded, Virginia?
6/8.
Can I change 8 to 100? So does that mean I'm done? I need to work with this. I have to get that magic number. I can't change 8 to 100. Can I change this to something else?
3/4.
Oh, I could divide both of these by 2 and get 3/4. If I had 3/4, can I now change it to the magic number? Times what? So if I do 25 times 25, what's my fraction going to be? Over 100. So what's my decimal? Yep, 75 hundredths. And what's my percent? 75%. Last one. What part of the polygon is shaded? Look very carefully at the lines. What am I going to put for the fraction, Jolanda? What part's shaded? It's going to be easier to count on your paper. You're going to include that in the total. So you have 7 that are shaded and 3 that are not. This one. So it's a total of 10. How am I going to change 7/10? Can I change 10 to 100? Okay, so what am I going to do? Times 10 over 10, which is going to equal what? Over 100. What am I going to write for my decimal? Or, yep, I could do either one. 70 hundredths or 7/10. What percent? Okay. We are going to glue this. If you open this back up, you're going to see that it goes on page 84A. You're going to glue this to 84A, and then there's an Ed puzzle that you have plenty of time to complete. So you're going to go into Google Classroom to get the Ed puzzle.